Well, listen, we're live. Welcome to the fucking podcast.
Party Dozen.
Thank you, Party Dozen, for being here. How are you guys?
Yeah, pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah.
What's been happening?
We're glad to get out of the house, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good excursion.
Yeah.
Have you had many excursions in the last 2 months?
No. Has anyone?
Not really. I've had a couple in the last week, I would say, when the overlords said that we could, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you guys? So you locked down pretty hard.
Yeah, I was pretty good. I got told what to do and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that.
It's amazing how everyone stepped into line real fast.
Yeah.
It's a real insight into the, I don't know, like nationwide, like the people of Australia, but like everyone really behaved very, like look at America and just sort of like, fuck you, don't tell me what to do, we're going to kick off real hard. Yeah. Australia just went, and Australia had like such low numbers and just went, no, okay. Like, this is what we need to do to get through this. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all kind of were just like, all right, well, everyone has to do it, so we may as well just fucking do it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Hard and fast.
there's a real decency to the way people behaved, like with the exclusion of toilet paper and tinned tomatoes and fucking canned fish and shit. But dude, like honestly, like that was pretty limited. It was a fairly small amount of time. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, but there was a real decency to the whole lot. The people were very respectful. I actually got in a massive fight with one of my neighbours. She called the police on me twice for having our kids playing in the backyard, which like in the back lane. So we have our house as a backyard, and we were playing with the kids in the back lane on their scooters and like chalk drawing out the back. It's totally fine, like to exercise and get some space in the natural world. And this fucking batty old lady.
The natural world in the inner west is a
The Stanmore Laneway.
Yeah.
Right next to the bins.
You literally, and the fucking the water is a puddle if it rains. You know, like, but she called the cops on us twice, and then she's like asked us to go into like mediation.
Quarantine, is that?
No, mediation. Like they have like community mediation through like New South Wales government, like Justice Centre or some shit. And when I got these letters, I'm like, fuck off. Wow. You're just a lonely person. I'm so sorry for you, but fuck off. What are you doing?
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
You can be like, okay, this isn't working. We're both at each other, and someone will overlook your neighbourly dispute.
Yeah, they invite you. It's not required. It's not. I think you can have court mandated like mediation, but this is just like you can just request it. And anyways, we didn't. I was just like, no. We got a call from the guy, and they go, we got a call. I was like, no, she's a batty old human, and lonely, obviously. And I'm sorry for her, but. At the end of the day, like she ran over one of Spike's cars, like she's like it was horrible. And poor Spikey, my little 2-year-old, ran over like a giant Lightning McQueen car that he had. Yeah, she was trying to get in and out. She's like videoing us and ran over his car. It was horrible.
Hit and run.
So people like actually when I say that. The decency, the cops said that they've been getting quite a lot of calls like that with people dobbing in their neighbours.
Just hoping for some human interaction.
That was my whole angle. Like, my wife was far more vitriolic about it. She's like, fucking bitch. But, you know, and she's a fucking bitch, to be honest. She's a horrible old lady. But the reality is I just totally took that line of like, she wants a little bit of contact. She's obviously struggling at the minute, but... Yeah. Nice way to go about it.
One of my friends was picking on a neighbour before we were kind of like all seriously locked down for having a party. And I was like, you live in a big share house and this person probably doesn't. And they had 6 friends over and nobody is telling them that they can't do that yet. So just back off. Like,
leave it alone.
Like, leave it alone. Like, they're probably fine.
I think that we did tend to, like as Australia, like with the absolute opposite of like the States in that nature of, we locked down well. Like, you know, like the overlords, like as you said, like the overlords told us, and we're like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, we're done. Yeah, no worries. Where do we go? What do we do? And there's a real social kind of, like an excess feeling of morality. Like, no, I'm this quarantined. I'm on this much lockdown. I'm self-isolating. So you're not self-isolating. The government told you to fucking do it.
Yeah. So
that term started to piss me off. Actually, it's like, you're not self-isolating shit. You're fucking getting told to do it. It's a government mandate.
We got shut down real fast, real hard. Yeah, fuck. So every podcast we do, it's obviously a real like vein through all of the conversations about what it's been like to do all these things. And we always come back to this really beautiful point: is that as artists, like, has it sort of changed you or affected you? Like, things like not being able to rehearse together? Like, do you normally write together? How do you write now? Are you thinking more creatively? Are you thinking deeper? Are you thinking more inwardly than you had? Because some people never had time to really invest in the creative side as much as you'd want to, and now perhaps you have. Like, is it done anything like in terms of your band? Is it produced anything as opposed to obviously like stopping you playing live for a time? But is it giving you any sort of positive like force or
I
movement?
think it's like not being able to play makes us want to play real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we just released a record, so we're focusing on that. We didn't really need to rehearse or like write any new stuff yet because we're looking at this new album.
Yeah.
So
Just working that.
yeah, if anything, I just feel more psyched. Like I'm more excited to get on the road and go further, like get overseas as soon as we can and just just start playing.
And that was a plan?
Yeah, that was the plan this year, was to go overseas. So that's obviously delayed 12 months, but that's okay.
Where were you headed?
We're going to go to Europe.
Yeah.
Europe and the UK. That was the
Huge scene for you guys over there. Like I was talking to you guys when you were sound checking about like we're massive fans and like huge fans. Like
Fucking big
we're like
fans.
like honestly
I
we're
love it. I
fanboying so
love
much
it.
right now because we fucking love your music so fucking much. And one of the interesting things, like I kind of we knew who you guys were, and we just like found your music through you guys playing here, and then I kind of went down this wormhole of jazz when we opened Mary's Underground last year, and I discovered these new wave of like little pockets of jazz that were erupting around the world, like that East London kind of like jazz scene, like Shabaka Hutchings, and I was just like, oh my god, like this is the most badass version of that fucking music in our own fucking town. I'm so excited to have it here. So is that where you were kind of is that where you're navigating to? Is that like a mecca for you guys? Is that a big scene for you, or is it an influence? Where does it fit for you guys?
I reckon just in Europe, anything is possible. You know, it's kind of like here we're a weird band, but I feel like people in Europe would just be like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of fun. That's kind of like a cool spot to be in, and gig wise, I think that's like.
Yeah, if it's fucking good, it's good. Like I did, like just you break down a barrier real quick. We went like they're nothing like. Well, it's a 2-piece and they're pretty heavy. You probably hate. I don't know, maybe like hate them. It's that band Slaves from England, and they've got a song about how everyone thought they were fucking stupid because the singer played like 2 drums, and then there was a guy playing guitar, and they just jumped around like fools. And but you get away with it because there's a vibe and there's a fucking energy, and it's really like I just want to back up Jake's sentiments. We're such big fans. Like I swear, like it's very rare. I remember the first time I saw it was your video. It was probably recording one of your houses or something, and just be like, I've never seen that shit before.
Yeah,
I've never seen that. I was like, they're fucking saxophones are a fucking effects pedal, like, and it sounds so simple. Once it's like once you've seen it, it's like, why have I never done that before? And probably someone has, but it's just so badass. It's so badass. Like, it's fucking incredible, and it makes us proud. Like, we're so proud of being. You know, I'm not born here, obviously. Neither was he in Newtown, but it's like inner west.
I'm from Queensland.
Inner west
Don't tell
kids,
anyone.
like yeah. But it makes you so proud of this sort of community that's been built. Like it's. You know, like people, that's the thing, but people congregate here. People come here for that reason.
Yeah.
And it's fucking special. You guys are like really, I think it's one of the coolest fucking musical things I've heard in a long time.
Yeah,
and congratulations. And
Thank you.
if that sounds good or hopefully not patronizing, yeah, like I'm really excited for what you're going to do. Like, it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
How did it start? Because you in your term weird, in my term exciting. How did you guys meet? How did Party Dozen become?
I guess like you were saying, we saw a band with like a saxophone and a tuba, and they were running them through some big amps.
Trombone.
Trombone.
Sousaphone.
You should be telling this story, not me. They were running them through some high gain amp, like some guitar amps, like guitar nerd amps, like amps that Doom guys play through and that they jerk off over.
Yeah.
And it sounded insane. Like, they were just all this feedback, and we're just like, what the fuck? Like, how is this a thing? Like you said, like, I saw it for the first time and it clicked, and we're just like, let's do that.
We could do that.
Yeah. It was different though. It was like heaps more jazzy and less affected, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
didn't
was really
steal it.
exciting. Really.
But you guys are like, there's a lot of bands, that, you know, there's a lot of young bands, and this is not against anyone, whatever. But it's like a lot of bands that provide energy and like good times, whatever. And you know, I can barely play the fucking instrument, but you get away with it because they're like shouting a lot and just getting the crowd going. You guys are both obviously incredible musicians, like, and that's quite rare, I think, now, like, for people to be so well, like, astute in your chosen. I mean, I don't know, do you play lots of different things? Because I think if I, like, as a drummer and a saxophone player, you're both obviously incredible. Saxophonist.
Yeah, we both play a bunch of things, but that's what we're best at. Like, we're in Party Dozen, we're doing like the things that we're like super competent at, I would say.
And where did you guys meet? Like, what's your history of the band? Like, where did you meet? Like, have you been friends before? Did you meet? What's the?
Yeah, we met when we were like 19.
Yeah, touring.
Yeah, touring.
No, you were like 38.
38, 40. Yeah, we met over 10 years ago.
Okay.
And when both our indie bands were touring, and I was living in Brisbane and John was in Sydney, and his band Parades came and stayed at me and my sister's house in Brizzy, because she was like, yeah, let's put these young kids up. I was like, all right, why not? And then, just like formed lasting friendships. And Dan from Arse was also in that Parades band. So that like started that all rolling as well. And yeah, good times.
Yeah, it's such a
arse party.
Big
they
arse
both
party.
play together. It's fucking so good.
And how long's Party Doesn't been a thing? Like, is it? I've been aware of your music for probably 12, 18 months. We've been
2 years about
Yeah.
Probably about 4 years all up.
Okay.
Put our first record out 3 years ago, but like honestly, we're just like, let's just play record stores and DIY gigs and do that.
Do you think that that's going to be a thing coming back? Like, the restrictions on live music venues are what they are. We'll see what they're going to be in real terms in the next couple of weeks and months. But do you think that whole DIY vibe, I feel like it's been missing out of Sydney for a long time. I think there's other cities in the country do it a lot better than we do here. But do you think that that's a necessity? Is it going to have a big role, a small role? What's your intuition on that?
Yeah, it feels like those acts and those artists are always here. Like, they're always playing somewhere, and they'll move. If some place closes because it's illegal, they'll move on to the next place, and they'll just be like, I don't think it's a matter of venues. It's just a matter of like creative people, because there's always people making cool stuff.
There's DIY lifers.
Yeah.
Like, really, like, would never ever step foot in an actual venue.
Really? That's a whole scene?
That's a whole scene, yeah. So, and
Wow.
you know, if the DIY venues go, they'll just play house parties.
Yeah.
And that's what
And there's
will happen.
musicians that just that they're like, nah. Is it a line of selling out, or they're not interested?
I think it's probably a bit of both for different people. Some people just like don't want to sell out, and some people are just not interested in any kind of like, I don't want to say fame, but like their their artistic thing is like at the forefront. They just want to do what they do. Just go with that.
I think that's one of the things we love about you guys so much, is the fact that there is a real sense of creativity and artistry, not just of your musician, of your instruments, but of the soundscape of the actual whole thing. It's like when I think about Party Dozen, it's not just about the sound, which is obviously if anyone's we're about to see fucking Party Dozen play live, but if anyone hasn't seen them before, the sound is so intense. It's such an intense experience to be a part of. Is that like, where does that come from you guys creatively? Like, what's the burgeoning thing to kind of, is it to fucking wake people up? Is it what's the journey for you guys? Why do you make this music?
I think personally I was like sick of not seeing, like when Party Dozen started, I think it's different now. When Party Dozen started, there weren't many women doing really aggressive things in Australia, and it felt good to kind of fill that space a little bit more. Obviously now it's different with like Amel and a bunch of other bands with like really strong female front women. But yeah, I think that was like a big thing for me. I was just like, let's just like rip on this and like have this like aggressive band because it feels good. It feels great. Like anyone who plays in a punk band when they're a teenager or early 20s or whatever, like just like knows the feeling of just like shouting and having that like moment.
And did you like, when you referenced that sort of doom thing earlier, when you were doing a little sound check there's that real the samples from the drum, that real like that bassy sound that just drills through the body. Like, Is that a style of music that you listen to, or it's like you just, or you like that you like that it just adds a depth to what you're doing, or like you're both sort of dark?
Yeah. I think we listen to a lot of different music. I definitely used to listen to a lot of doom music.
Yeah, you also grew up like playing in punk bands.
Yeah, around that scene. I think it's just there's an energy there, like in any of those genres, like aggressive, like noisy kind of stuff. There's just an energy that is, I don't know, you can't match it when it comes to more commercial.
There's also a community.
Yeah, that's it.
The
It's hand in
community
hand.
is like so sick when people are like even when young kids are like moshing or whatever, just like their favorite local punk band, like there's a real energy and community feel of that. Like that you really, as Johnny said, like you can't match it.
And how do you feel like, you know, as we said, we had Caitlin Hunnett here earlier, and so the way shows are going to go on, like maybe they'll have to be seated for that first little while. We're not sure. It's a real possibility. And fuck knows when moshing's coming back. Like, so for your guys' shows, like, is that a bit of an intrepidation around like what it's going to feel like? Or is it going to be like, if you have to play, we might be able to do 100 people here in July, perhaps, but there'll be little pockets and they'll be very separate. You know what I mean? That's fucking weird. Have you thought about that? Or is it like
Oh really? Have you guys thought about that? How's it going?
Well, yeah,
Because what we do
how
think
can
about
you just
moment.
keep everyone separated in a room?
Oh
like this?
fuck, man! It's the thing is, it's what we spoke about at the start. It's like, who the fuck is going to police that?
Yeah.
But also, like, but you kind of we need to be seen to do the right thing, because we're not flaunting the system. We're not. It's not in anyone's interest for us to fuck it up.
Yeah.
But also, we're like, you need someone to sort of be pushing those barriers.
I was we were talking about it in the office today actually, and I was like, I feel like there might be a moment where, you know, there's the ubiquitous no crowd surfing, no moshing signs in every fucking live music venue.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, and please maintain social distancing.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of like, even now in the restaurants, there's rules about how to govern restaurants and with social distancing. And it's like, if you're not from the same household, you must maintain your social distancing. And
What a strange rule.
how
is that defined?
A table of 4 or a table of 2 on date night, and they don't live together.
Yeah.
You know, and yet, I've got distancing between the tables. I'm doing all that shit right. But if someone wants to sit next to each other, if they want to fucking like.
Get the fuck away from
You also like people can just be like, oh
He's
yeah,
never
we
said
live
that
together, or we're in
They
a
do.
relationship together. Or,
And who
you
am
know.
I to fucking tell?
Yeah.
Like, I got interviewed a week ago, and they're like, "Well, what are you going to do?" I was on ABC TV, and they were like filming over my shoulder. Yeah, fucking. Which one didn't I cry in? I've been fucking tearing up on them. Tell me the stuff. That's crying all the time. But but they were filming over my fucking shoulder, and there's like the group of 10 people just sitting like so close to each other, because that's what they wanted, because there's a human fucking element to this. And they asked me the question like, well, these people are not like practicing social distance. I'm like, it is not my fucking role. There are signs out. There are guidelines that I'm asking, and there's an ability for them to be socially distant. However, I'm not going to fucking go over there and tell them that they cannot fucking touch their friend. Like, that is not my fucking responsibility. And even if it was, I would choose not to. And in that moment, I really honestly would. Like, it's I don't think it's a grey area, but I don't feel grey about it. I honestly feel like we have to have a level of personal responsibility here.
Also, humans need touch. Like, you've got kids, you know how much kids need touch. Like, adults need touch as well. Like, and I know that we're trying to do the right thing right now, but like, there are going to be moments where like your best mate really needs a cuddle. Yeah. And like, what do you do then? Like, do you not, because you're like, oh, I'm social distancing? Like, what about their mental health as opposed to their physical health? Like, I don't know. Have
you seen that much change in your friends, like the mental aspect to the mental health aspect to things?
Yeah, some of them have been
crazy.
Yeah, some of them have come out of it though. I feel like at first a couple of our mates were like really freaked out and really insular and went into a shell and were like, I can't see anyone, I can't talk to anyone. But they've kind of come out now, which is good.
I've seen I definitely saw that in a couple of my friends, and my wife was definitely someone who was very, very pro lockdown. We isolated, everyone self-isolated. But I feel like the role of human interaction is so fucking fundamentally important to us that and we did it. We've all acknowledged we did it really well in Australia. We all kind of went to our fucking houses and we did our thing, but there is this drive. You can see it in people's faces when you're looking at them and you know them and you go and would normally cuddle or hug them and you say that, and then there's this we're like, but there is just this overwhelming desire to fucking hold that person, and I see a lot of consent happening. Like, are you okay with this? And they're like, and people are like, yes, I am. Like, well, I am, and I think we're in a very, very privileged position in Australia to be able to do that because of the numbers that we're seeing. But I don't know, like I think when you say that it's a part of humanness that we require it.
Yeah, I think we do. Like, I think it's like, you know, people.
Of course, 100%.
Although saying that, my boyfriend is loving it. Not a hugger, except for me. Like, likes hugging me, but just doesn't want to hug anyone. He's just like, this is the best.
Oh, really?
I'm like, you're so weird.
And forever he'll be able to just go toe tap.
Yeah, totally. He's been like, you know,
the king of the elbow.
oh my god,
My friend Bruno,
so funny.
I think I mentioned to you earlier, this guy Bruno. He used to run Mary's. Like,
Shout out Bruno, you fucking
Bruno Wicks.
lovely
Oh, with the
motherfucker.
long hair. I know Bruno.
no,
Oh, is that not? the
No,
same
I don't
Bruno?
think. No, he's a little
God.
Kiwi man. He always had short
no.
hair.
Creepy man.
He ran
not the
Mary's
same
for
guy.
like a couple of years, like really probably in its real prime, like that 2014, 15 sort
It's
of
prime.
busy every time.
Have we hit it?
And he I think you wouldn't mind saying he probably got burnt out in hospitality in terms of just giving so much of himself to people and everything, and then he's really stepped back from it. And I was messaging him recently about how are you going with it all. I think it was his 30th birthday, I think. I was like, how's it going? Like, you know, you're not going to spend your birthday with anyone. He's like, Kenny, you know how much I don't like being around people. Now I get to tell pricks to stay 1.5 meters the fuck away from me. He's like, I love it. And I was like,
So
oh, well,
good.
fuck, some people, you know, so it's a happy space for some people. It's, you know, people to retreat is like a real thing because some people don't like having to deal with that all the time. That expectation of, do I have to hug you? Like, you're a friend of a friend. Like, do I have to hug you? I don't want to hug you.
You were out of the house most days through it, like with work-related shit. I was out a little bit, you know, but some people like needed to get out and were like, I need to just, even though that like respectful, blah, 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 I'm going to go to work, I'm going to do this. But some people were really good. And like you said, some people have thrived on this.
Oh yeah, some people like and
This is their
you
best
know,
world.
because they go out because they feel like they absolutely have to go out and socialize with people, and then suddenly someone's been like, hey, it's okay to stay home. And maybe that's cool. Maybe that's like something that will happen and continue, and people will be like, you know what, I don't want to, and everyone will be a bit cooler about it.
Yes.
Jonathan was saying. So you like, you're not a big fan of going out and just, you know, or that pressure. They'd be like,
that's
where's
bullshit. He's the last person on the dance floor every time.
Mr. Good
Every
Dance.
time.
Liar, busted.
And he doesn't drink, so it's amazing. All of us are rat shit and drunk and dancing, and he's still the last man.
How do you do that? I don't understand that.
Just keep dancing.
he just does till everyone else is off. It's like a competition.
Don't ever stop.
I hate dancing. I'm a masochist.
we actually
I'm a
had
very
we-
successful masochist.
One of the first, well, we before we started doing the interims thing, we'd always had this idea about chatting with people and like how we could bring the Mary's community together. And one of the first ones we did was with Chochi, who just quit gang.
Chachi.
Yeah, fuck.
Shout out
Chochi. What a beautiful man.
We always sing his name. I don't know why.
It's a great one to do.
And then people said, he's like, have you got his number? And it's like, oh, it's spelt so weird. Like, you know, it's not spelled like that. They're like,
So
really?
many people that I know call him Joji. I'm like, that's not his name.
yeah, you've obviously never met
You're
him.
silly.
But he gave us a huge, because like he goes in and out of, you know, vegan world and sobriety, and he's in sobriety right now for
He's been
for
messing
months,
around with
for months.
psychedelics last time I spoke to him.
There you go.
He's like,
Aye.
But
Yeah.
he opened our mind
Hey,
up.
buddy.
He opened our eyes up to sober world. But he told us a story that when he's like, went to New York and I was sober at the time. This girl that I knew, no, he wasn't.
he was not
wasn't.
sober. He turned up lit to an AA party.
So we were like, come to this AA party. He's like, so turned up and everyone was like, it's this classic American thing, all red cups, and everyone drinks what they call spicy water, which is just soda water. And he's like, and everyone has the best time. It's just like a
like a
regular
3-year-old
party.
kid.
And he's
I like
like,
that.
and then at some point, everyone just starts fucking. Like And he's like, sober sex is like the best sex I've ever had. People like, when you're in the sober community, people explore that shit so hard. He's like, this is why I do it.
Totally not where I thought that story was
Yeah, for us.
He was like, like everyone's like more mentally engaged. It's no more like drunk and fumbling. It's like, this is what I'm into.
I'd say
do you want to do
it? For sure. Like,
Yeah.
I reckon that's probably, yeah.
I just laughed. I was like, so you turned up ripped and fucked a bunch of sober people? So weird, dude.
They 100% knew.
Predator.
Yeah. They're like all wanted to kiss him because they can taste the whiskey on his lips.
Wow.
How do you guys know Choach?
Through
Shows.
Yeah, shows.
Backstage.
And our friend Dave, our good friend Dave,
Yeah.
I think used to, or has played on his new record as well.
Oh, cool.
You guys know Dave Rogers, don't you?
Oh, maybe yes.
Yeah, you probably do. Quite tall.
Yeah.
Quite tall.
What is
Yeah.
it? Who is it? What
He
band's
used to work,
it?
oh no, he used to work at Young Henry's.
Okay, yep.
Ah.
Tall Dave.
Dutch Dave, I always called him because for some reason I think he was Dutch.
What's his band? Dave?
No,
was-
Moonbrain.
No, I stumbled across the old
Nuns.
one. There was
Nuns.
the
Yes.
old Instagram page, and I was
Nuns,
like, "When's
yes.
the last time?" Yeah,
Nunts?
Nunts, yeah. And I was like, wonder if it was still around. It was like because we've been off social media for a long time, and we touched on it earlier. And that I like we had to let a lot of people go, and then people that would look after these things. So we've had to do all that, which we're really embracing and enjoying doing everything like it was from day one. Like actually really fucking enjoy it. So we had to go back. I wasn't on Instagram for like 2 years because like we both fucking hated it.
Really burn us out.
Like fucking hated it.
We had to
Yeah.
divorce ourselves from it.
But that's a conversation. But when I stumbled across Nonce and it was like, I was like, are they still together? It was like last post was like 2016. I was like, oh, they must have not. I don't know what they're doing now because it was just Josiah and Dutch. I don't know if you even knew we always called him Dutch Dave because I just thought he looked like a Dutch boy.
That's so funny.
but
they were so lovely.
Like Van Dyke.
They were like some of the. We met them
Dave Rogers?
because they used to come to Mary's all the time,
Yeah.
and then they opened up. There was that hairdresser opened up in Lennox. They were
yeah.
they were like running that, like running the cafe for them.
Yeah.
And they come in and they were selling these weird Russian pastry cold potato snacks. Yeah, but they're very beautiful.
Shout out to
Joss's
weird
dad's
Russian potato snacks.
Joss's dad still plays the till we shut down. He's the Friday night piano man.
God. I've sung with him once when I got
Fuck.
absolutely
How good is it?
drunk. It's so good.
That night at the
was really
Unicorn, the
good.
Piano Man is one of my favorite nights in Sydney.
He shreds hard.
And
He's
also,
fucking so
he's
good.
got like this crazy, like kind of like on the spectrum brain, so he can't do more than like 12 bars of one song. And
Yes.
he just like keeps like chopping around, and it's kind of like fucked up, and it makes your brain just melt.
It does.
It's really fun.
You just as you get into the part you want to get to, and you're like, oh my god, we're singing something else now.
Puts another song into that song, and you're like, I didn't know that was possible.
And it's
Exactly.
probably-
It's like all C, F, and G.
Yeah. Oh,
It's just, oh my god, there's so many songs.
So many
And I feel like it's like mathematical precision in its continuity because if you ask the chefs, they're like, oh, I fucking hate him. I was like, they're like, oh, we love him, but I fucking hate. It's like every Friday for like years, it's like same. It's just the same,
Just
man. It's
finish
like,
this- they're like,
but it's
just
like he's not
finish the
playing for
song,
you.
bro.
He's not
Just
playing for
finish
you.
I always feel like as well, he's always late. And then he's always like kind of setting up flustered, and then he's just like,
Yes.
and then like he'll see some of us in the crowd or something, and he'll come and have a chat, and then Joss is always like, "Dad, you've got to play now. Like you're late. You've got 10 less minutes, and you."
10 minutes, that's minutes to play 10 half songs. Motherfucker. Just doing our heads in.
Can I ask where does the name Party Dozen come from?
You can ask that.
And you're not going to answer it.
No, it was just really not a cool story. It was just like,
We'll be the judge of that.
okay.
Mate, we'll tell you why it's called Mary's. Everyone's like thought of some really cool thing about it. We're like, it's on Mary Street, you dickheads.
Genius.
That's us.
Now we know where it is.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was on a list. I thought it was a cool name for a punk band or
Johnny's
something.
got lists on his
I
computer.
got lists of weird words,
Yeah.
and there's a list on my phone right now, and it's got heaps of like random stupid ideas, and then
Give us one.
Sometimes they take
Oh,
context.
you told me a good one tonight.
wacky inflatable tube men on stage with the band. and whenever Kirsty blows into a sax, they kind of like
They go
air
up.
gets pushed into them.
Is
So
that
like,
those weird ones that like
Yeah.
float
Yeah.
around?
what do you think?
I like it.
Anyway, that's on the list. At the bottom of one of these lists, it just says pasta. I think I had a shopping list at one
I feel
point
like
with one word on it.
the inflatable floaty people, it'd be cool. You should do 10 of them, and then at some stage of your show, there's a party dozen on stage,
12,
and that'd be quite funny.
Everyone's just waiting for that
Maybe
moment.
Have you ever outdanced a wild, waving, wacky inflatable
that's
arm guy?
impossible.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
impossible.
possible.
Everything is
Sure.
possible.
Yeah, no matter how much hot air someone blows up your ass.
So what happens next for you guys? So like you had your European tour cancel, which fucking blows. Right? Is this just like, does this create fury in you to fucking get it done as soon as we can? What's your vibe on the next 6 months for Party Dozen and you, for yourselves as people, as humans?
Yeah, I'd say we're both pretty keen to just delve in.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably start recording the next one sooner than we would have, to be honest, which is exciting because it took us fucking ages to do this one. So yeah,
Voluntarily, though.
voluntarily.
I was gonna say, why was
maybe
that?
like now, well, we just took our time.
Where do you
Yeah.
record? Do you at home? Do you have a studio? What's the vibe?
Yeah, we've got a studio.
Yeah.
How cool's that?
Yeah,
Got a
it's
room.
pretty awesome.
Where's that?
In Marrickville, it's tiny. Like it actually satisfies the social distancing laws, which is great. But it is very. It's a writing room essentially. But
it sounds
it's all
great.
it's all we need. Like we've always been so DIY. We've never felt like we have to hire a big studio or anything like that. It's John who does all the magic, the dirty technical work.
It's all self-produced. Everything you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to stay in control of it.
How's the role of a producer? I've always been really intrigued. Like, obviously, there's some producers and artists who just create magic together. Like like Daniel Lanois and fucking and Brian Eno on U2, and then Radiohead and fucking Nigel Godrich.
Yeah.
Like I just like these really special moments between. But for bands like yourself, where what would it look like if a producer came in? Would that just fuck everything?
Yeah.
I think so, because Jono mixes and masters it all as well. So he's kind of like pretty protective of that. And
The base concept is real simple.
yeah.
We've got a saxophone, you've got the drums, and you've got extra samples.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably like part of the creativity of the band is like what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
Realistically.
nothing that someone could come in and say, oh, you should try changing this thing, because there's only 3 elements to fuck with.
You know what everyone always says? They're like, oh, I can hear vocals on that. And I'm just like, fuck off.
And fuck off.
It's one of my favorite. Like, if you've heard of them, not like Mogwai, that Scottish band. Like,
They just did a remix for us.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck off! I
Yeah.
love them.
Me
Really?
too,
Yeah, incredible. And you never listen to them and go, oh, you could really do with some fucking shite vocals on
No
that.
way, they're so good. And that's another band. They're like
That's
really
amazing.
good
Fuck.
at their instruments. They're so solid. Yeah,
Yeah.
Our new Scottish manager is mates with Stuart
Great.
from the band.
Yeah, because you just focus on that, and you don't like you focus on every nuance of every part of the music, and don't give a because the singer will always be there. Like, I don't think I'm loud enough. I don't think I'm loud enough. Like, shut the fuck up. You're not
Yeah,
even.
my-
You can't even sing.
Yeah, my poetry's going to change. Well, shut the fuck up.
yeah.
You can barely spell your name.
It's really awesome as well, because you can like kind of have a big night or a late night and like get away scot free when you're just playing saxophone. It's so good. I love it.
I don't think
Yeah.
anyone who's ever seen you guys live would say that either of you got away scot free. You guys leave something else on stage. Like there's
Sweat and blood and
there's so much energy. Where does that come from in you guys? Do you guys have a? I mean, you mentioned that you grew up playing in punk bands and indie bands. Is this like a family thing that you guys had from your families? That you kind of there's a punk rock heritage. You grew up listening to this music. Like where did that energy come from?
My parents are not punk, that's for sure.
No.
Your parents are a little bit punk.
My parents have a little bit of punk, but not heaps. Like they just love wine and good music. But they listen to like the Beatles and Raikuda and stuff. So no,
Raikuda.
I love Raikuda.
That's good music.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so I think it just came from growing up in it, rebelling or
I don't
whatever.
really
you know.
Yeah.
I don't think I really reached that point until I was about 25 though, realistically. Like I
That's
was just
late
kind
as
of-
well.
Yeah, it's late. Yeah. Yeah. And then I was like, ooh, am I too old? And I was like, no.
I don't know if that is too old. Like,
I'm not saying too late. Oh, it's too old. I'm just saying it's late in
Yeah, it is
comparison
late.
to
Yeah.
no,
discover-
sorry,
Never too old.
sorry. What I meant to say was I don't think it's late.
Yeah, correct yourself.
No, because it's not. It's not. Everyone's different, and there's this whole idea of like some people do great records at 21, whatever, and then by 30 they've got fuck all to say,
Yeah.
And some people just really fucking sit there quietly and consume everything. And then there's a point where you're like, oh, I've just compiled and decompartmentalized everything. And now I feel like I fucking understand something and I know where I fit in that.
Yeah.
And that's okay to be 25, 28, whenever that
100%.
fucking
Yeah.
happens.
Totally.
I reckon you're also just like so much more confident in your late 20s.
Yeah,
you know,
I was
like,
shy as fuck for long, and I still feel I am as a natural state. I'm very like I sit next to this man most times, and he takes up all the airspace, and I can. But I mean, no, it's great. It's kind of why we're like it works well because I can sit there, and Jake just takes over. If he knows I don't want to fucking say shit, he'll just keep saying shit and saying shit.
Yeah.
And he's great at that. But I think it was late 20s for me before I had the confidence to be like, you know what, just shut the fuck up. You're actually talking shit right now. Instead of that was the main thing for me. Just you sit and listen to people and just let them talk bullshit at you. And there's that one point we just go, no, I actually think you're talking shit. I don't want to listen to you. Is that okay for me to say?
Yeah.
And I love that about my life now. I'm still not I'm not a loudmouth by any means, but I'm very confident to be. I just think you're talking bullshit. I don't want any part of it.
Yeah, I guess you just know yourself really well.
Yeah.
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 There's a growing up that happens. I think I'm actually, I would say, and it's something kind of like it doubles back on what we were talking about a little bit before about like people who could lock down well, and you know my question around if your friends, have they been responded? I've been feeling like this growing sense of increased resilience in human beings and an increased knowledge of yourself, and like you're saying, Kenny, like I'm 38, and am I 38? 37.
37, yeah.
Right. I do this every year. I'm about 6 months out. I start telling him I'm the same. I did start getting ahead, and then I get to 38 when it's actually 38.
I'm 9 months older, so
and I start saying I'm 39.
That's so good though. I remember when I was turning like 30 and I was 29 and I was like, yeah, I'm 27. And someone was like, no, you're not. And I was like, oh crap, I'm not.
But like, yeah, I'm 38 and I feel like I'm just discovering parts of myself. And a lot of it's like, it's been thrust upon me, as I feel like all of us at the moment. But like the idea of discovering things at 25, but really getting it. Like not just, I listen to a lot of fucking punk music, but fucking like the spirit of punk. You know, like getting that fucking, you get it in your fucking bones and you're like, oh no, I'm an adult and I get this. This is my shit. I think it's really powerful because you can see the difference. It's like between someone's like, yeah, I listened to a lot of punk music when I was growing up and this is kind of what we are, as opposed to, no, I came to it late and it's fucking mine, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think you form a stronger connection because you've got way more experience in life. So you start to piece things together. You're like, this corresponds to that. Like I can see how that fits in, and now I want to be part of it.
Yeah, and it goes through many you can look at athletes. Let's take Mike Tyson, for example.
Mike Tyson.
World heavyweight champion at the age of 20. And and he was burnt out by the time he was he was done by the time he was 25. And then you have a Lennox Lewis, for example, who was no one until he was 27. And I think in musicianship.
And then he's now literally on the fucking wall of one of the greatest fucking heavyweight fighters of his time.
He was there.
Yeah.
And in musicianship, there's a lot of bands come out really young, and then there's an expectation for them to keep providing forever. And sometimes people, I don't know, you can't provide that stimulation to people forever. And also, and maybe you don't come to it to a later stage in life. Like I don't know, it's that idea. Get the fuck out of here, John Muller.
I think also, like, especially for me, like when I was first starting music, like there was like an expiration date for women. Like even just 10 years ago, people were just like, no, you'll only have till you're like 24 and then that's it. But now it's kind of changed and it's cool. It's really cool that it's changed because it feels like heaps more progressive and heaps more like
and that's
you
fucked
just
up.
keep on going.
How have you felt the music industry change over the last, I don't know, give it a number 10. You've been playing bands how long? Actively in music?
Like 12 years.
How have you seen it change? Or have you?
And be honest.
Have I?
Yeah.
I think it's still like there's still elements that exist from like kind of the real fucked up days. I guess I'm only talking about it from like my experience of being a woman in it. But
it's the only way we can talk
you
is
can
from our
only
own
talk from your own
experience. Yeah.
experience. But I think people are like heaps more keen for women to do whatever they want. Like I think there's more of an expectation that you just like can do you, but you have to back yourself. Like no matter what you do, no matter which path you take, that's fine now. Whereas like before, I don't think it was fine. I think people were trying to like sculpt and mold you so much. And I've definitely had people try and do that to me and just be like, nah. But I think now definitely there's more acceptance with whoever you are and whatever you want to say.
What do you think the end game for that is? Like, what do you think the result has been from that kind of more the growing acceptance? And I would say like there's more women involved, which is the most incredible way to kind of bring more female conversation. But where do you see it going over the next 5-10 years? What are the dangers you see to it? Are there any issues that you find with where we're at with our attitudes towards women in the music world?
I think that people just need to be careful not to just like not to just like choose things because they're female as well, but like just continue the trajectory that they want and not be like, oh, I can't have a boy in the band or something like that. Or I think that they need to kind of, people just need to like relax a bit, choose the band they want as well, because like, you know, like we wouldn't be the same band that we are if Jono wasn't in it. We'd be like, I would say 1/4 of the band that we are. So I don't think that like you can, I feel like with a lot of young women, they're like, I'm not going to have any men involved or whatever, which is totally fair because it's like a complete opposite of what it's always been. But I think that it's important to remember that like men aren't necessarily not on your side, and you should be creating bands with people that you really love and people you really love hanging out with, because you're going to spend a fuck ton of time with them.
Yeah, it's like the relationship's a relationship.
Yeah.
And do you feel, if you have experience around this or not, I'm sure you do, but the bigger the label gets, like what is that? Does it become harder?
It's a good question.
Or does it become or easier if they're trying to mold you into something? But in terms of like women doing what they want artistically, do major labels try and cherry pick what they think that you should be, or is there a freedom that exists within that?
I think, it seems like from our experience, especially like recently, it looks like that still happens. There's a lot of like, I don't know, guiding, I guess, but they're just pushing young artists who are female to be a certain thing. And
I think it's important to remember that like no one has any fucking idea what they're doing. Like I hate when people are like, oh, this person did this and this and this, but I'm just like that they took a punt. Like who would have thought that Tones and I would be the billion streaming song and have her face in Times Square? Like I know someone did, sure, but I'm sure
she did.
I'm sure like 20 other people passed on it and was like, no. Like no one has any idea what they're doing. If you stick to your guns, then you'll be your own artist. If you sound like everybody else, which is what often bigger labels try and make, especially I feel like it's particularly women into, oh, you should sound like Billie Eilish. And then it's like, well, there's 10 people who sound like Billie Eilish, but none of them are Billie Eilish, so they're never going to go well. So if you just stick to your guns and just do what you want to do and be proud of it, then at least at the end of the day, even if it doesn't go well, you can look back and be like, I'm so proud of that. That's cool.
I don't understand how like an artistically focused industry got hijacked by fucking idiots, you know, where the artists are no longer running the fucking show. You know, like if it was down to if it was an artistic and creatively led fucking head of, you know, major labels, they would be like, no, I want diversity of creativity. I'm not talking about diversity of like fucking like of individuals and blah blah blah, but like diversity of creativity. I don't want the next Billie Eilish. I want the next Billie Eilish. I don't want another Billie Eilish. I want the next Billie. I want to fucking foster someone who has a fucking talent that is tangible and real, and that's what I want to get behind. Not, I'm going to find another girl who's going to is just pretending to be Billie Eilish in a fucking home studio. Like, that's a terrible place for any artistic fucking environment to be.
Yeah, it's also a really good way as an artist to get shelved. Like, so I don't know. I feel quite strongly about it because I had my own experiences or whatever, but I just think you need to be careful who you work with as well. You know, like with Party Dozen, like we took we took 3 or 4 years almost to bring anyone else in, and we just recently brought a manager in, who we love.
Scottish cunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's the
Cheers.
best.
Scottish
Actually,
fucking cunt.
just to drop back on that, so the Mogwai thing, what's happening? It's an old song that they've mixed for you, or what's that?
No, it's a new one.
New one.
Yeah, we just released it a couple of weeks ago, and they did a remix for it, and that was really cool.
And you love it. You've heard it. You love it.
Yeah, it's good.
What's that like, giving something over to someone to reimagine in such a strange space?
Because that conversation about production, like I suppose that's a way of opening your eyes up, or your ears or mind up to when it can take forward and have some sort of beautiful ending to it.
Yeah.
But at least you've got it at the start.
I feel like I get really excited, but it takes a bit to grow on you sometimes. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's exciting knowing
Yeah.
that someone else who you respect as well is
Yeah.
going to do something with your thing. Could be anything. I'm always open for remixes. Like,
Yeah. And they've obviously heard it and went, fuck yes.
Yeah, how
Yeah,
did that
that's the thing,
happen?
right?
Like, so it's through your Scottish manager. He's their friend, and he just put
Neil,
it
was it?
across. Oh man, that's so cool.
It's
like,
very cool.
Mogwai, I know a bit, but if every time Mogwai gets brought into the conversation, I'm just
so
like,
much respect. Yeah.
It's
on another
there's-
level.
There's definitely a band that's kept their creative integrity the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like
and they're doing,
they've obviously never given it up.
doing a lot of like scores and TV now, so they're still
Yeah.
remaining relevant, which I think is amazing for a legacy artist to not just do like a tour every 4 or
Yeah.
5 years.
And that's and for a lot of people, that's what listening to music is like. To cook the fucking Mogwai, great. You know what I mean? Like just to spend an afternoon, especially in this whole time we're all going through, to spend an afternoon when you're forced sort of isolation.
do that this weekend. I'm so excited for that.
Listen to that and just
Really excited about that.
We talk a lot about having a soundtrack to life. Like having a soundtrack to life is inspiring. Music for us is the most inspiring thing.
Imagine how anxious your life would be if your soundtrack to your life was Party Dozen.
I was telling the guys this afternoon,
Would be so fit. There's so many sit-ups.
fit in my fucking my
be like,
my blood pressure would be through the fucking roof.
But everything has its moment. And so the full point of a soundtrack is it's got its crescendos and it's got its fucking like full like things of paramount importance. It's everything. And for us, like we always live life like that in terms of, it's the song you walk down the street to when you're feeling whatever, when you're sitting in your car. And for us, at Mary, like we always think Mary's became known as this heavy metal bar. I was like, Mary's is not a heavy metal bar. Like when we were in there on Tuesday nights and we were hungover as fuck, we were playing the National and Mogwai, and we're like, because it's our mood right now. And people come in and they breathe off of your energy, and you're like, this is what I can give you.
We played it loud, but it was
we're
never
playing the
fucking-
soundtrack, and this I'm gonna smile at
Who
you
wants
and ask how your day was. But when I was putting fucking Slayer on a
Who wants
fucking Tuesday,
Gorgoroth on a fucking Monday when you're hungover at 4:15 p.m? Not fucking me.
no, fuck. And I think we're trying to like grab that back, and to people to know that Mary's is not a heavy metal bar. Like it never was.
Such a boring fucking over the generalization. Anyway, like it's such a boring fucking classification. People need to put things places so that makes sense to them. Do you know what I mean? Which is why I fucking love you guys, because you like literally go like this. Fuck off! You cannot put me in a fucking box. Like anyone who comes into one of your shows is like this. Like fucking whatever you think you're about to see. You see a fucking a duo, a two-piece, and a fucking drummer and a saxophone. You're like, I'm already confused. And then all of a sudden that fucking sound comes, and you're like, ugh. Like it's fucking, yeah.
And we're about to see it. And I think we're usually about the 45-minute mark on these things, and the batteries all die on their shitty
cameras.
the shitty cameras.
iPhone.
Battery. But look, I've loved this conversation, and I hope you have too. And I think we could probably talk about more things in depth another time. But thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for being here.
And for doing the empty room sessions. Like it's such a huge thing for us. Like it's such a huge thing. We've always wanted to have some level of recording the bands that play at the Lansdowne. And like what we touched on earlier, like that, all the shit happening has really, motivated that to happen. And brought a beautiful aspect of community, like through us and the production, Rad, like young Henrys, like our community coming
Oh,
together.
Jack Daniels as well. Thank you, Jack Daniels.
Some whiskey. But everyone coming together and everyone working for free. Like we take what we've got and we all put it together for free and we create something beautiful. And it's really exciting. And we're fucking so excited to now get to watch you play and play like 3 or 4 songs, whatever it is. And genuinely thank you so much.
We're all here for
being
you.
a part of it. And
Really appreciate it.
And the Lansdowne is here as soon as it kicks off. And we can do it. You have our stage whenever you fucking want it.
100%.
And thank you so much.
Thanks for doing all this and giving us
thanks so
something
much,
to do.
guys.
Like Kenny said, you're the purpose of it. So thanks. Yeah. Love it. Thank
Cheers.
you, guys.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Ciao.